Hi everyone, this is Lovelin Johnson, and today we are going to be looking at the law of content from the 16 undeniable laws of communication. This is part 2 of the law of content series, and if you haven't had a chance to watch part 1, I would highly encourage you to watch part 1 and then join me for part 2. I'm going to have a link in the description below. Let's get started. Last week, we looked at a framework called Condos Lift, and we talked a lot about the Condos framework. I want to give you a quick recap on what Condos stand for. C, connect with your audience. Whenever you're preparing a presentation, a speech, or any communication for that matter, think about your audience. Who is your audience? And your number one goal is to connect with your audience. O, own your strengths. Don't speak about things that you're not comfortable with. Speak in areas that you are truly comfortable with. N, narrow down your thesis. What does that mean? It's the box stop. What's your message in one sentence? That's the box stop of a puzzle. When you are giving a speech, the audience doesn't know the multiple different puzzle pieces in your puzzle, but when you show them the box stop, they can then visualize where you're going to take them on. So N, narrow down your thesis. Make sure you can succinctly put it in one sentence. D, do your research. If you have decided to talk about leadership, do all the right research. In that way, you bring a lot of value to your audience. O, outline your speech. Whenever you work on a puzzle, the first thing you work on is the outer edges. An outline often helps us because it stays as a boundary for us, and our speech will be within the confines of our outline. So outline your speech. And the last one, S, stands for shape the content. Now that you have a clear outline of your speech, you can now build the puzzle with the content, which is the meat of your speech. Now let's look at the second part of the framework, lift. Remember Condos? The purpose of Condos is build the message. It's almost like the house that is being built. And lift framework is about the interior design for your home. You make it your home by bringing the right furniture, making it cozy and inviting, and that's the lift framework. What does lift framework stand for? L, launch with impact. I, integrate smooth transitions. F, finish strong. T, tune your phrasing. Let's start with L, launch your message for impact. Every message needs a runway. Just like an aeroplane needs a runway for takeoff, your message needs a runway too. And the first few minutes of what you do in your speech will capture your audience's attention. They will lean into your message just because of the way you start your message. What are the things that you could incorporate for you to capture your audience's attention? You could ask a compelling question that makes them think. You can give a powerful quote that would inspire them. You could also quote a recent incident that ties into the message. You can have a historical reference maybe. Sometimes you could connect with a powerful personal story that would resonate with the audience. There are so many wonderful things that you could do. You could use powerful statistics could also help. Did you know 90% of the leaders struggle with this? Now suddenly they are leaning in. What, is that an issue for everyone? So you could use 1, 2, 3, or 4 of these things in order to launch your message, in order for you to be effective in the first few minutes of your speech. Integrate smooth transition. I want you to think of transitions as a bridge. Your audience should never know about the gap between these two mountains, but you should take them on a smooth sailing. And that's what great transitions do. If you have 3 points, and when you move from one point to another, you could probably start with point 1 here and go back and explain point 2 and go to a different position and explain point 3. That could be a great tool in terms of sharing different thoughts, and that way the audience could connect with the speech. You could also include bridging phrases. You could say, remember we talked about this, now we are going to be talking about this. So you are bridging it by connecting the old point with the new point. You could also number your points 1, 2, 3, so they clearly know your speech has 3 points and you are now transitioning from one point to another. You could use strategic pauses. Pauses are very powerful, and there are very few people who could use it effectively. You can give a nice long pause and then start the next thought. In that way, they can clearly see that there is a transition happening. You could also have a different vocal variety. In that way, they can see that you've moved on from one point to another. So there are many, many different transition tools that you could use and see what fits for you. Remember, great transitions are like bridges. Your audience should be able to sail smoothly without noticing the gap. The next point we are going to be talking about is landing your speech. How do you finish your speech? How do you finish strong? There are a few things that you could do. You can prepare the audience that you have come to the concluding part of your speech. You could say to wrap it up or to conclude. Use phrases like that. So you're preparing your audience that the end is come and they have to lean in and listen to your speech. Another thing you should do is summarize your speech. You had 3 points, give them a quick recap of the 3 points. You had that one message that you want them to take with. Make sure that you talk about that message one more time in the conclusion. And always give them a so what. Whenever you deliver a speech, you want your audience to take action. You don't want your audience to think, look, she's great, she can do great things. No, you want your audience to think, I am great, I can do great things. So make the so what clear so that they can go home and do the things that you inspired them to take action on. And I would encourage you always to end with a quote, a challenge, or a question. In that way, your message is clearly cemented in their hearts and minds. What are some of the pitfalls people fall into? Often they would kind of say as if they are going to end the message and people are leaning into it and then they take off. It's like the false landing. People think they're going to end the message, but then they take off. So don't give them any false landing. Don't touch and go. When you are coming to an end of the speech, end it in that way. It's a great experience. Sometimes it could be a crash landing. You look at the time, you had 20 minutes and your 20 minutes is up. So what do? You crash land. You don't conclude. You just sort of abruptly end the speech. Don't do that. That's wrong. Another thing people do is like they don't have a strong conclusion. They don't have a strong call to action. It's almost like your whole message sort of fades away because you don't have a strong call to action. So I would encourage you, whenever you finish your speech, make sure that people know by saying we are going to conclude, to wrap it up. Always summarize it, and that one key point, make sure you repeat it so that it remains in your audience's mind. And then give them a call to action, challenge them. You want them to leave thinking they too can do great things. Tune your phrasing for impact. Create memorable phrases. Some of the speeches that we remember today and we appreciate it because of the memorable phrases they created. Think about I Have a Dream speech by Martin Luther King Jr. We remember it because of its repetitive nature. The phrase I have a dream is repeated multiple times. There is compare and contrast there. There's nice rhythm and pause and a nice flow to it. And all this makes that speech memorable. Use contrasting structure. Think about JFK's words. Ask not what the country could do for you, Ask what you could do for the country. Today, many people can quote it because of its contrasting structure and a bit of a repetition in there that makes it memorable. Think about your speech and think about ways where you could create rhymes and rhythms so that people can walk away and your message gets sticky. To conclude, let's recap the 4 essential steps that we need to look into to make an impactful presentation or a speech or communication. L. Launch your message with impact. I. Integrate smooth transition. F. Finish strong. T. Tune your phrasing for impact. When you incorporate all this, when you keep these visuals about a landing runway, a launching runway, and the transitions and the phrasing, your speech becomes memorable. People will remember your speech years after you have delivered it. So, in order for you to be a great presenter, use this framework and deliver a wonderful presentation. See you next week on the Law of Connecting. Thank you for joining me.